Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. Welcome to fmtraining.tv. It's 1 o'clock Pacific time here in California. We are broadcasting live in high definition to Discord, to YouTube, and to Twitch. So feel free to join us. The most common ones, I think, for people who are fairly new is YouTube and Twitch. But if you're interested in an invite to the Discord group, feel free to let us know about that. We will post that for you. So real quick, today is day one of an awesome set of days. And you're like, hey, Richard, what are you talking about? Well, what we need to do is we need to check out the website real quick. I'm going to go to fmtraining.com real quick, if I can actually type that. What you're going to see is a website where we manage all our training, including our on-demand training, our paid video courses, our bundles, everything else. We actively work on this every day. And so today is day one of a 5-day sprint with Nick Hunter. Nick Hunter is the most infamous user interface design guy in the FileMaker world. Famous, you could say famous, but that would be, he may be not the most famous one, but he's definitely the most infamous one, that's for sure. So, he's only wanted for crimes in three of the 50 states of the United States, and so he's hiding out at his studio there in California. Nick, let's see, where is Nick at? There he is. Hey, there he is, hiding out in the studio. Welcome, Nick.
Hey.
And so,
hey, how are you?
Nick is very flat today, but he's all excited because he had to kind of prepare for this, right? And, he's like, and then the entire time we were getting ready to broadcast, he's like, God, I hate the iPad. I hate the iPad. I hate the iPad. And like,
No,
I thought you loved the iPad, right?
I love the iPad. It's not a problem. It's not what I mean. I mean,
yeah, the iPad is all these devices. They send notifications, right? Hey, your best friend's girlfriend's dog, cat is low on cat food. Would you like to send a message to them? Like, no. Leave me alone. I don't need notifications. So no notifications, right? The no notification club is what we should call ourselves. So day one is today. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Building user interface, user experience on FileMaker Go for basically iOS devices. So this is not really an Android conversation per se. We know that Claris has kind of been rummaging around trying to figure out what they're going to do with the Android product. But basically today is a conversation primarily about iOS and building for that. Now everything you learn here will be applicable with FileMaker Pro on Mac and Windows, but it's really a conversation designed for building the mobile application. So today is day one with Nick. Very, very, very exciting. So Nick Hunter, are you there? Are you ready to start today?
I'm ready to start. So yeah, so it's today it's only for iOS, okay? Even though we are going to talk about this. We are going to have a kind of a discussion about this. So I don't know if you noticed, but since the last 10 years, iOS started in 2007, and with the new iPhone. Okay, so this is when everything started. But the real design, the design matter. The matter of design, all the problematic of the design and stuff like that arrived on us, on FileMaker in 2010, when FileMaker Claris / FileMaker Inc. Initiated the new FileMaker Go product. That means FileMaker on the tablets, because before iOS was kind of a closed environment where nobody could do anything but Apple. Okay, so and then Steve Jobs and by popular demands open up, crack the nuts and open up the market to everybody. So then the App Store came up and all these concepts of apps came up, and FileMaker was part of that kind of for iOS promotion strategy of Apple. So FileMaker is part of Apple, and Apple asked FileMaker to build products to show that it is possible to have kind of for professional enterprise level kind of for low code. What's the name? Low code kind of for software.
Yeah, no code, low code is the current term.
Yeah, low code. Yeah. So that's the story. But the problem is, when we started building things for iPad and iPhone and stuff like that, we discover as FileMaker developer that everything we knew before, we need to take it, and put in the trash, because nothing was applying to the touch device, nothing. Everything we were doing were not at all playable under, on an iPad or an iPhone, or making the customer very unpleased. Okay, and there's reason for that, and we need to know the reason for that, because otherwise you won't be able to understand why things has to be done a certain ways. Okay, because everybody say, oh yeah, but I don't need Nick, I know what to do on an iPad. You put a button here. No, you cannot do that. You cannot say, I don't care about the rules, I have my own rules. And you can do that for many, many, many reasons. And I'm going to talk about that, right? So the first thing, we need to identify why things are different on desktop and an iPhone. Okay, why they are different. And then why they are less and less and less different. Because I don't know if you noticed, but the computer design, UI, UX design started to be more and more and more and more like the touch design. The touch kind of design, UI, UX design went inside the desktop and colonized the desktop. So pretty much now we have on our desktop computer all the paradigms and all the UI design guidelines that were for touch. They are now all inside the desktop as well. So they are coming, and at one point we won't have any difference. And I think the thing we get will accelerate very soon, since now with the M1 computer, the M1 kind of silicon that Apple have now, we will be able to run iPhone and iPad apps inside our computer. The same app. You will download the iPhone app and you will be able to run it in your computer. So that will revolutionize a little bit things, and you will see the acceleration on the moving the desktop moving to the touch, and kind of for the design that was around the touch. Okay, so what makes the thing different between a desktop, right, and a touch? And I want to share my screen for that, and I want to show you something here. This is what Steve Jobs was saying about, at the beginning of iOS. When iOS came up, this is what he was saying. So I took 3 sentences that are exactly very relevant for what we are going to talk about all this week. Okay, so the first sentence, this one here. So we like to talk about the post-PC era. Okay, so that means after the PC. But when it really starts to happen, it's uncomfortable. So I want to highlight the word uncomfortable, because this is what you feel when you start building things for iPhone and iPad. You feel uncomfortable because it's outside you what you know. Okay, so this is the first word. Then you have this sentence that is important. You have a much more direct and intimate relationship with the internet, media, apps, and contents. Okay, so this is the most important thing you need to highlight from this sentence. A much more direct and intimate relationship, okay, with whatever you see on the screen, whatever you do. Okay, and this sentence here, it's like some intermediate things has been removed. Okay, so this is what you need to highlight from here. Intermediate things has been removed. So you don't have things, a physical barrier between your content and the human. So let me explain this. Okay, because I'm making gesture and you can see myself. So that's stupid. Okay. So, so now you can see me. So the difference between the desktop and iPhone and iPad, which I have both here, okay? When you are with your iPad here, you have your iPad on the hands, okay? My distance, my physical distance between me and my screen is this. So this is the distance I have. So pretty much, this is the distance
Yes.
I have between my screen and myself.
Yep.
Okay. Are we using iPad with that distance? No. Okay. We're using the iPad like this. This is a natural kind of distance. So that's what Steve Jobs was saying about direct and intimate relationship. Okay. So now you have another physical barrier that we are removing when we are using iPad and iPhone is those guys. Those are physical barriers between what's the name? Between the computer, between your device and your body. Those are barriers, you know. It's pretty much the difference. The difference you have is like watching your TV and actioning, you know, your TV with the remote control, or getting up and turn the knob, okay, on the TV. So that's the big difference between desktop and iPad and iPhone. So that's another thing that is important when the direct and intimate relationship between your content and yourself is that when you look at a screen on the computer, you have a wide range. Your eyes, your vision is wide, like this, okay? When you use an iPhone, an iPad, you have much narrow, like this. So that means you have much more a better concentration on what you see. Unless when you are on the desktop, you have a much wide things. So what you do on the deck. So if you want to display a desktop kind of application on your iPhone, or iPad, if you display all what you have on your desktop application, if you display everything, you are going to overwhelm the user. The user will be overwhelmed by the number, all the objects and everything he needs to analyze and to digest visually. So that's why Steve Jobs was saying it's like some intermediate things has been removed and stripped away. That means you see exactly what you have. You see everything what you have, because you don't have this wide environment, you know, this wide kind of display, and you don't have the physical barriers, and you don't have the physical keyboard, and you don't have the physical mouse. Okay, so that's what Steve Jobs was talking about, the most intimate relationship, because actually you are touching your content. You touch it. Okay, with the mouse you don't touch it. You know, you touch the mouse. It's extremely important to know that. So now I want to come a little bit here to talk about why I'm saying you cannot ignore the rules. Okay, and this is and this applies for iPhone, iPad, Windows machine, or Mac OS, whatever. Okay, it's because people are educated now. So let me explain this. It's very important. In the 80s, and the 90s, who had a computer at home was a crazy guy, okay? Was crazy, was like everybody was looking what a computer is for, okay? So, and they were like extraterrestrial. They, people in the 80s having computers, they were scientists or, researchers or whatever, okay? So, and they were educated. So that's why the software were coming with a manual of instruction. I don't know if you remember, for the oldest people, we were buying a big box like this, a software in a big box, and we have 10 floppies, and then we had a big book of the manual of instruction, because people weren't educated, okay? So, and I remember when I was building my own FileMaker solution for people, I had to educate the people. I was telling them, this button is doing this button doing that. Don't click here if you didn't click here first, etc. And they were taking notes and stuff like that, right? That was back in the 80s, 90s, right? But today, people are educated one way. When they go to the bank, they have a computer. When they go to the McDonald's, they have a computer. When we go, you remember, Rick, last time we went to Chevy's and stuff like that. We have a computer.
Oh yeah.
We have
order,
a tablet
to order and then provide tips.
To order, to pay for. So we have a computer everywhere. Everybody has a computer at home, and it is getting worse. It's getting worse when you deal with iPhone and iPad. Why? Because everybody has an iPhone or iPad. I mean, everybody has a mobile phone or smartphone, and many people have a tablet. Okay, so you can get away with the rule, because otherwise people say, what? Okay, hold on. I'm using my iPhone for years. This icon always do this, but in Nick Hunter's solution, the button is doing something different, right? So you're going to get people completely lost if you don't follow the rules, because people are expecting things to happen in one way and not another. It's not you. You cannot decide this. It's the what's the name? It's the world that is deciding that for you. You have to bend on the rules. Otherwise, your production on iPhone and iPad will be unique in the world. That will be the only app in the world that behave like this. That means nobody will know how to use it, right? So you cannot ignore the rules. You must apply the rules. So the problem with the rules, you can go online and find the Apple design guidelines and principle website. It's a giant website where Apple is laying down everything you need to know in order to build an iPhone and iPad solution. But that's the problem here. Everything that Apple is saying doesn't apply to FileMaker. Just a narrow little thing, part of it is applying to FileMaker. Why? It's because we don't have the wide variety of possibilities, because we are limited by what FileMaker is doing. So here the problem you will have to encounter. To me, the difficulties here is not to learn the rules, because they are pretty simple, and I'm going to explain all along the week. Okay, it's not too much about learning the rules. It's about to apply the right technique for the right thing. That is the most difficult part. And I want to talk about something that, most of you know that I am a Star Trek fan. Okay, so you will need to be like, you have to put yourself in the master of innovation seat. You need to sit in a master of innovation seat and be a master of innovation and become a master of innovation. Like those people in the 60s, when they start talking about the Star Trek TV show, what they were thinking, how they were thinking. and you need to have the same thing, the same way of thinking. Let me explain. Star Trek was all about people in a voyage across the galaxy to meet new worlds. So they had a problem. They couldn't shoot the scene of the Enterprise landing and taking off on every single different world. You know what I mean? So they couldn't recycle the same scene of landing and taking off because the world is different all the time. So that was out of budget and they couldn't do it. Okay. So they say, oh, let's do the shuttle. So this is where the shuttle come in. The shuttle is very important in the Star Trek mythology. So they say, yes, but we are deferring the problem. We still have the same problem. The shuttle smaller, but we still have to shoot the scene. And one day a guy said, okay, I have the solution. Let's beam them down and up. So the people say, what the beam is? Teletransportation. Let's teletransport the people from the Enterprise to the world, and the problem is solved, right? You need to have this mentality. That means it's not because FileMaker has limitation that you have to be limited. You need to be innovative, okay? And that's why we came with so many kind of components that you can build yourself, out of the building block that FileMaker are offered to you. You can build your own things, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you this week, right? So it's very important that you start to think differently, and you forget about what you know about FileMaker, because everything you know about FileMaker doesn't apply. You need to follow rules, so you need to learn about the rules, okay? The best way to learn about the rules is to get inspired from other things, okay? So you can see and analyze what people are doing. And I'm going to give you like 5 different sample file where you can, yes, so now you know where the beaming up and down is coming from, is because it was an economical necessity, a financial necessity. It's not something that they wanted. But can you imagine a Star Trek now without this? So anyway, so that was the thing. So I want to let's start it with the reality now. Okay, what we are talking about here?
Back to reality. Okay.
Yeah, back to reality. We are talking about, so the file we are going to talk about is 3 files from the starter. So believe it or not, they are 10 years old, but they are still the state of the art in terms of design, because those solutions I build with Chi, which is now the lead of design at FileMaker, and he is a designer, a pure 100% designer, and we work together on this, and we just please ourselves, to do whatever we wanted to do. Okay, so it's those event management, invoices, and projects. Those 3 starter solutions are state of the art in terms of design. We are talking about starting point, the last one, the new starting point, and the UI, the energy UI sample, which will become free at the end of the show. Okay, normally you need to pay for it, but I'm going to make it free. Okay, so this is important. But those 5 kind of files are the file I'm going to use for the demonstration. So let's start now with our friend starting point. Okay, so here, what we want to discover is what is the difference between an iPhone, an iPad, and a desktop. Okay, obviously it's the screen size. Okay, and sometimes when people says, "Oh, my screen is too small to display the solution," you said to the guy, okay, go on Amazon and order a bigger screen for $99. Okay, So that is not possible on an iPhone.
I'm sorry, but that is my preferred answer most times. Just spend more money on the hardware and don't worry about it. But sorry.
Yeah. So because now, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe it was a problem because the screen was like thousands, but now it's $99. You have a freaking nice screen. So, it's on the desktop is no longer a problem, and all the screen are 24 and plus now, so 24 inches, and so it's not a problem. But on the iPhone and iPad, you cannot do that. You cannot say, "Hey, buy a bigger screen." No, you have what you have. Okay, so you have different sizes on iPads and iPhones, but you don't. What's the name? You cannot. If you have an iPad one size, you cannot say, "Oh, I'm going to buy a new screen." Okay, so the size of the screen is important. Okay, and also you have something that makes the big difference between an iPhone, iPad, a mobile layout, and a desktop layout is the keyboard. Okay, because the keyboard is popping up all the time. So let me show you this. Okay, so let's say you have a solution let me grab my where's my quick time here. Hold on, new movie recording. Okay, so here you have an iPad. This is a real iPad. Okay, so this is connected to my iPad. So and the prime is, so this is, you have the layout here, you have the screen of the iPad. What happened is, if I tap here, this is what happened. So look what left on my screen for the data. A little tiny small space is available for me here. See, because I have this pretty much 2/3 of my layout is covered with the screen, with the what's the name, the keyboard, right? So that's a problem. So when you design a layout, you need to make sure that you take care of this, okay? And then so I'm going to show you this. But what you need to know about the size of the screen also is that if this is the size of the desktop layout, okay, and this is the size of the iPad layout, okay, and this is the size of the iPhone layout, right? So pretty much what you can do is this. So what you can do, you can create a new layout. Okay. Create a new layout. And you can say, okay, let's remove those two things and let's show the rules. Okay. So you say, okay, this is my desktop layout, right? So you have one column here. You have two columns here, right? And you have three columns. So this, let's do this, okay? So this is pretty much the screen, okay? So you have one column, 1, 2, and 3 column, okay? So you need to think your layouts based on 1, 2, and 3 columns, okay? Why? Because this is your landscape this is your real estate for desktop. That will be your real estate for iPad, and that will be your real estate for iPhone. So now that you know that pretty much more you go and more you narrow the number of columns possible, okay? So you have 1, 2, 3 column for the desktop, 2 column for the iPad, and 1 column for the iPhone, right? So this is why pretty much all the layout that I'm building, all of them, all the design that I'm using are all articulated on this. You have 1 column here, 2 column here, and free column here. So you see the third column is kind of bigger, but it's virtual, you know, it's a larger column, but it's still free column, 1, 2, and 3. So pretty much it's like you design your stuff like this. So you have this, you have 1 column here, you have 2 column here, right? And you have a third column larger, but you still have 1, 2, and 3 column. Okay, always. This is what you need to have in mind always when you design something. So if you design originally on the desktop, take that in mind. You have here a good foundation to get easily to get your stuff for iPhone and for iPad. Okay, so that is depending on if you want a solution that works on the 3 different platform. You know, if you want a solution that works on iPhone, iPad, and desktop, the desktop design is ruling the other 2, right? As for if you want a solution that works, that run on iPad and iPhone, you need to design the iPad layouts, and then you get iPhone for free out of it. Okay, pretty much the larger screen, the top of the food chain is the larger screen. When you design your larger screen, that will drive the smallest one. Okay, if you don't need iPad and iPhone, this, you know, because Moki said I'm designing for desktop only. Yeah, you, of course you can use, you know, there's a different, Moki, okay, here's the problem. Okay, you can use anything on an iPhone and an iPad. I can use this on an iPad, you know. I can use this on an iPad, no problem. I can use this on an iPad. I have no problem, you know, with those things, and you know, and navigation that goes all over the place, and you have to, you know, okay, I can use that on an iPad, no problem. I ask you, just find me another app that looks like this on an iPad. Just try to find me an iPad application on an app store that looks like this. You know, it's not because it runs on an iPad that means that it's great to be used on an iPad. It won't be. The user experience will be terrible. People will be lost. And so you need to be, you know, when you build an iPhone and iPad, everything, the button needs to be bigger. You need to place your object differently. You need to have much more space between objects, otherwise it looks clumsy and looks cumbersome and stuff like that. So it depends. Look, it depends the level of iPad and iPhone compliance you want. You know, you can just run the solution. Of course, FileMaker is capable of doing this. You have a desktop layout, and you just run it on an iPhone. Let's say you have this layout here that is almost too big for a 15-inch screen, can run on an iPhone, no problem. Now, is the experience will be good? You tell me. You tell me if using this solution in a screen that is big like this, you know. You're the judge, you know what I mean? So you can do it. You can do it. My purpose here is to tell you that if you want an experience to be, if you want to give to your customer a great experience, unfortunately, you need to do like everybody's doing on an iPhone and an iPad. Okay.
All right, so I have a quick question, Nick. I'm going to go ahead and jump over here and take a question and answer. I'm going to bring myself back here briefly so people can see this. So the question was from on the Discord side, but I'm repeating it everyone for on Twitch and YouTube. So if you have an iPad and you have a physical keyboard, the question is kind of what happens with that, and can you control it and trigger it? And so this is an iPhone or iPad with one of the very first 12.9-inch ones, and I got it with the keyboard, so it's kind of like this magnetically connected, and it uses as a cover. And so what happens is that is that it sees that you have a physical keyboard. So you just saw it right there. I don't know if you can see this. I'm gonna try to come over here. I don't know. Can you see that? Is it just too bright? It kind of is too bright. But what happens is it sees this keyboard as a standard text keyboard. If I click into the field, it suppresses. It doesn't show the keyboard. If I move this up, what it does, it pops the keyboard there. It's kind of hard to see that. Oh, there you go. You can see it from an angle like that. All right, so there you go. So you see the keyboard. If I actually reconnect this thing to hello. Let's see if I can do it while it's on the screen here. If I connect the keyboard, see the keyboard just hid. So you're like, okay, so it has a physical keyboard, it hides it, so you get the benefit of that. There's a manual override that you can trigger to show the keyboard or not. But here's the thing. Once again, I don't know where this question will come up over the next 5 days. Maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. But what's interesting about this is that the computer sees this as a text numeric keyboard, but if I'm here, if I start tabbing and you get to like a phone number field, the phone number is set for like a text, like a numeric keypad, like a different kind of keypad, and it sees, so here it comes right now. It's going to do it right here. I'm going to tab here, and it's going to go, oh, you don't have a numeric keypad keyboard, so we're going to show you this giant thing on screen, even though you have the numbers on your physical keyboard. So just, I think the rule is that if you're going to promise something to someone, you want to try it out before you kind of commit to it. And this is definitely one of those things, right? So,
yeah. But if you are building an iPad layouts that requires to have a keyboard, it's better you just let the people use an iPad Air, an iPhone, MacBook Air or something like that, to have kind of a real computer. Because if it's mandatory to have a keyboard on your iPad in order to make the iPad layout walkable,
yeah, I really think I think this. There's some people who love it. My wife is trying going back to school and get her master's degree, and she's been doing more tech stuff on the iPad than I have, and I think she likes some of the stuff on there, but as soon as you put a keyboard on an iPad, really, I don't know. I'm like, just get a computer, dude. Just get a regular.
I like to rebound on something like here. So Kyle said it's difficult to trim layout down in order to desktop layout to work for a desktop. I mean, no, it's not. Here during that day, and then Moki said it's better to start with the small layout and start with the iPhone and then build a desktop out of it. Unfortunately, Moki, it's the exact opposite. You build first the biggest layouts, and then you narrow down to the smallest one, and because they're especially if you don't care about iPhone and iPad, you can build your iPhone your desktop layout the way you want. Now, if you want if you want desktop, iPad, and iPhone, a solution that works on the free, when you design your desktop layout, you need to take care of this. Okay, so I noticed personally that applying this technique of columning, the columns, when I apply this technique to all my design, it helps me a lot to build desktop layouts. It makes the desktop layout much more understandable. Okay, so and you have an example, so you have other example here that can come with. Let me close this. When you come here, you can see what I'm talking about the columns, right? So you have the navigation on the left, then you have another column that is the list, the browser of records, right? And then you have the data on the right. Okay, so when you use this kind of design with the column in mind, it's very simple to get the iPhone layouts out of this. Very, very simple, actually. You see this layout here. Believe it or not, but this layout works on desktop and iPad as well. The same layout, okay? It works on desktop and iPhone and iPad. This is a desktop layout, okay? And I have the same here on my iPad. Okay. Okay. So let me show the, where's my, okay. This is on the iPad. So see, I'm on an iPad here. So that's the same layout, exactly the same layout. So it doesn't look uh, uh, not iPad at all. It looks iPad, by the way, and it looks desktop the same. It's exactly the same layout, right? So, and it looks great on both platform, right? So, and this is because I wanted to do that way, so that to say, if you design a knife pad layouts in a certain way, it can work on the desktop. Long story short, an iPad layout will work on the desktop and people won't complain at all. The opposite is not true. A desktop layout doesn't work on an iPad without some rework, okay? Because here, for example, you see the dates, for example, those dates here, they look like dates, but it's not a date like you usually have on the desktop, right? So when you tap here, you have the date also, and so it's a different way of building things. But here, I want an iPad and the iPhone layout. So now, before the next 5 days, the next 4 days, we are going to enter more on details. Today, I wanted to explain some rules stuff here. Okay, I want to make sure that everybody understood the difference between the desktop, the difference between the iPad, the iPhone. You can accept the difference or reject the difference. You can just say, screw Nick, I don't care. I want my desktop layout to work on iPad. That will work. That will work. But as a user experience, you will be ranked like 1 out of 10. So, and just because, unfortunately for you, people are educated and yourself, and you do it yourself. Sometime before you download an app, okay, you are going to check if the app looks good. Don't tell me you don't do that. Before you download an app, you're going to make sure that the app you download, you're going to check the screenshots and see if the app looks good. If the app doesn't look good, you will be reluctant to pay. The problem we have as FileMaker developers, we don't have the ruthless and unforgiving judgment of paying customer. Let me explain. If you have an app, let's say you have your desktop kind of experience FileMaker solution, and you made an app out of this, and you ask people on the App Store to pay $4.99, $8.99, $10.99 on your application, you will see that nobody will buy your application. Okay, so you will revise your views because you won't sell it now. Because if you do that, if you bring your desktop app on the iPad and you tell your customer, oh, by the way, this is it, yeah, the customer will say, do I have a choice? No, but you maybe not be happy. Okay, so, or it will say, okay, never mind, this is the best I can have, right? So what I want here, doing those 4 days, I want you to say, okay, yes, it's not that difficult to get an iPad layout. It's not difficult to get an iPhone layout. And I'm going to show you right now why it's not difficult, okay? So here you see I have 3 columns, okay? They are clear. 1 column here, 2 column here, 3 column here. So now here how my iPhone layout looks like. Okay, so let me remove this and let's go to the iPhone layout. So I have the dashboard. Okay, so the dashboard on the desktop layout was looking like this. Okay, that's the dashboard on the desktop layout. It was kind of bigger. Okay, but I have everything here. So I have the dashboard here, see? So instead of being left and right, it's top and bottom, okay? Because on an iPhone, I can scroll up and down, scroll up and down. On the desktop, you don't want to scroll. You don't want to scroll up, you don't want to scroll down. But on an iPhone, this is not only it's acceptable, but it's totally normal to scroll up and down on an iPhone. We do that all the time, okay? So you can scroll up and down. Now, that's the dashboard. Let's now see how the first layout looks like, maintenance, okay? So that's the first layout on the desktop, okay? So that's the layout on the desktop, right? So that's 1, 2, and 3 columns. Now, let's look like on the iPhone like it looks like. I have the maintenance list alone. So I have this here alone. I don't have the, because there was a name, I have the navigation is something else. So I have one column here. I have this column here. Pretty much I copy and paste and just make it bigger a little bit. See, I copy paste those two and I put them here. They're exactly the same, right? So I have one layout about this. When I click here in an iPhone, I go to another layout, which is the details. So the details is exactly the same as this one, but reflowed differently. That's exactly the same. It's a layout for this, right? And as you can see, I have exactly the same thing. I have my start date, due date, start date, due date, elapsed day, elapsed. Okay, I have exactly the same thing here, reflowed a little bit differently. And I have exactly the same resource tab portal here, right? The completion, I have everything the same. But instead of being when you do something left to right on the desktop, you do top to bottom on the iPhone, right? It's very simple. So what you do, it's what an iPhone layout is. It's a compression. It's a compression of the layouts that you design for the iPad or the desktop, right? In one column. So here I have 3 columns. On an iPhone, I have 1 column. So I need to show this one first, then I go there, then I go there. So I have 3 different layouts instead of having one layout with 3 different columns. So I'm switching for each column I have on the desktop or an iPad. I have a layout for an iPhone, right? So that's what I'm saying. So it's not that complicated to have the thing. You can see you have the dashboard, which I use as the dashboard in my iPhone layout. I use that as a navigation. When you need to navigate, you go back there and you go maintenance, invoice, inventory, and documents. And I'm doing the same thing here. I have maintenance, invoice, inventory, and documents. So I'm using the dashboard in my iPhone. It's a combination of the dashboard and a navigation. But I don't have a navigation I don't have the space and the real estate for the navigation in every single layout in my iPhone. Okay. So what you do is simple. You go from, when you go here, this button here is going back to the dashboard, right? So I'm going to explain to you that during all the week.
Yeah, yeah.
So the
I'm
maker.
I'm telling everyone there's 5 days of this because the people on Discord are jumping all over the place. They're going from day 1 to day 5 to all over the place. So that's we're going to try to. So if you feel like you're being ignored on Discord, it's because you're probably being ignored on Discord because there is kind of a Nick has a plan for the 5 days and there's a kind of a random conversation. I do have a couple other questions now, Nick, before we get done. So keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so look, I don't want to overwhelm you for the first day. Okay, so what I wanted to, I'd like to have some question about what I said today about the distance between the screen, the fact that we don't have a mouse, the fact that the keyboard is popping in the middle of the face. Even though you have a hack like what you said about the keyboard, but you don't have a keyboard on an iPhone, for example. You don't have a hardware keyboard on an iPhone. And I don't see the guys like the Scott Kane people on top of the roof of a building with an iPad on the hands to have to attach what's the name?
A keyboard,
a keyboard. So mobile, you need to think mobile as mobile, and that's something else you need to take in consideration. Yes, the desktop layout works fine on iPad. I mean, it plays. It will be FileMaker will render the result, no problem. The problem is that something you want to use as you stand, as you walk? Is it something you want to use in the subway, or when you are in the passenger seat of a car driving? You know what I mean? So you need to understand that mobile mean mobile. Mobile doesn't mean at your office, at your desk, sat on your chair. Okay. So you need to make sure that when you have an iPad layout, it needs to be mobile. Okay.
Okay. Question.
So go ahead with the questions.
Question from DW Howard on Twitch. This approach is not okay. It's interesting what he's saying here. DW says this approach is not mobile first. Does Claris preset templates for phone, tablet, and desktop? ?
No. So the approach of Claris, so it's not okay. Let's rewind this.
Because one thing I want to point out, Howard phrased things kind of interesting because Claris likes to say cloud first, and I don't know if he meant it kind of as a kind of almost an oblique reference to that. Howard, I know there's about a 90-second delay here. We're talking to you, but if you have additional clarification on your topic here as we're talking, feel free to ask that on Twitch. But he says this approach is not mobile first. Does Claris preset templates for phone, tablet, or desktop ?
Okay, so there's no mobile first. Okay. Hear what I said. I said multiple times, but I'm going to rephrase. In another way. If you want a solution that run on iPhone, you start with the iPhone, straight. You start with the iPhone layout because you don't have another necessity because it's an iPhone solution. If you have a solution that works on iPad, you start with the iPad layout, straight. Okay. Now, if you want an iPad layout that runs also on iPhone, you need to design first the iPad with in mind the iPhone one. As soon as you have the iPhone in the equation, you need to come with the multiple columns that I said. This is the only way for you not to have to rebuild everything 3 times. You don't want to rebuild everything 3 times for multiple reasons. Do you want 3 different schema for desktop, iPad, and iPhone? Because, I have a relationship for desktop. I need a completely different relationship for iPad. And I need another complete relationship for iPhone. Do you want that? No. You want to build something that will be iPadable and iPhoneable, just reflowing component on the screen and resizing things. You don't want to have a schema for iPad, a schema for iPhone, and you don't want a bunch of script for iPhone, a bunch of script for iPad and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you can have the less difference as possible between the free platform. Now, there's one technique that works perfectly for that. It's the technique of the free columns. And Apple or FileMaker came with this new what's the name? The new master details kind of for portal here. They came with this to address this problem. They came with this to address the problem that we need that approach of multiple columns. Okay, so let me show you what the approach. FileMaker came 10 years ago. But still very relevant today. So you have a project here. So you have a project, the project solution here. So this is the desktop layout. See, you have two columns here. It's extremely easy to understand how it is. Okay, so you have two columns here. So now let's see how the iPad layout looks like. Okay, so tablet project detail. Okay, so you see there's many things that got stripped out to gain real estate, to have the real estate back, because the problem is you have less real estate, so you need to gain. So we got rid of this, for example, and we did it in different way. It's still there, but in different way. We have those nice kind of good looking buttons on the iPhone and iPad, right? So this here, for example, this we have 100% of this thing here that works here, 100%. Okay, so we have exactly the same prints, contacts, and the guest thingy here, and the go to project list. So, and as you can see, the thing got vertical here. Even though we were in an iPad, what we did here is to combine two columns in one, and we had one nice column here, right? So because we had many problems to absorb here. Okay, so and this here is you have multiple layout here. Instead of here, you don't have multiple layout. I mean, you have multiple layout, but you have those and those. This is one layout, but here we split in everything in different layouts. So I'm going to show you that all this week. Okay, so what you don't want to do, you don't want to redesign everything between desktop, iPad, and iPhone. So if you want I am going to assume that you want a solution that works on the free platform, or at least for desktop and iPad. When you have this problematic, you need to address this with the columning. Okay, but as I said, as my everyday design, even though I don't care about the iPhone or iPad, I'm still using the column technique for multiple reasons, because it works well, because it's much easier to understand, it's much easier to build, it's much easier to maintain. So it's and this the columning system, the to have multiple columns, that's something FileMaker is going to come with in the future, much more than what we have today.
Okay, cool. Well, there's been a lot of conversation on the Discord side, and but I don't know that there's really any questions in there. They did point out that making a layout iPadable or making a layout iPhoneable was a new term for most people. So we're trying to figure out if you invented a new word or.
No, this is something iPhoneable and iPadable. This is something that came at FileMaker Inc. Claris back in the day with the Chi and all the designer over there.
So it's an inside baseball term you have there at Claris.
Yeah, it's a terminology that got invented, but pretty much talk by itself. iPadable and iPhoneable. So it's in English, it's perfectly fine to do that kind of stuff.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, that's it for today, I think, pretty much, right, Nick? Tomorrow we're going to pick up the conversation. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we are going to continue on this, and we are going to go more in details about how to bring object together and make it on an iPhone and iPad.
Yeah, with the columns technique, which is pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, the TK says we should have some stuff that's bunnyable, which means that it's designed, you can make it for beginning people, which is pretty good. But it'd be good. It's a good topic, and we'll be making sure that we continue on tomorrow. So, Nick, anything else for now?
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't need to. Okay, what I see here, sometimes I see some hostility. Like means I see, oh no, I don't want to learn anything, or I just, you cannot address a problem like this. Actually, when you start learning the fundamental rules, okay, that's things that I'm going to explain this week. When you start learning those very simple rules, oh yeah, okay, so easy, and then you will understand by yourself. Say, oh, by the way, it looks. I can do that on the desktop as well. So what you do, you build your desktop using objects that are iPadable and iPhoneable, right? And then you don't have to redesign anything. Just you have to reflow, right? But don't be in a hostile way. Say, okay, I don't want that to happen. And that's what Steve Jobs was saying. It's uncomfortable. He put everybody uncomfortable with this. Everybody is uncomfortable because it's something that we don't know. We don't. We're not used to build stuff like this, and that's why he said that himself. It's uncomfortable. Okay, so you're here to learn how to be comfortable.
Yeah, Nick, you and I have had some awesome arguments about that issue, and Nick is frequently right, and you have to be willing to challenge your own predisposition towards certain things, right? And you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable area, and so the trick is to be able to do that and still kind of lead a team if you're kind of higher up in the organization like I am. Other people don't want to wrestle with it, don't want to mess with it, and they just want someone to say yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, and go do it. And so that's not the kind of person Nick is, because he'll get in your face and tell you when you're wrong, which is really awesome. So preconceived notions, thank you. And so that's what we're trying to kind of, we're going to push a lot of you outside your comfort zone here a little bit. And it's good for you. It's good. It's because the tech is changing. That's what Steve Jobs was saying. It's going to be uncomfortable. I've had that on and off. You kind of have a predisposition towards trending to use devices that you like. Like, I use the Finder on the Mac operating system kind of in a very specific way that I've learned over the years. And I started with that in 88 or 89 when I was playing with the Finder. And it's got kind of a little bit better, but I don't really do certain things certain ways because those were newer inventions, and I didn't, I kind of wrapped my head around a certain way of organizing my desktop, right? So I have certain things that go across the side, across the bottom. I got certain, junky things that are over here is the area to clean up, and I organize and operate in a very specific sort of way. That's that preconceived notion, and it applies with the phone too. And the problem is that all these people that are growing up to be older now all they do is they sit there staring at their device all day. It's like my daughter, right, Nick?
Can you show my screen right quick?
Yeah, I was trying to censor you out, but yeah, we can show your screen. Yeah, so.
We had exactly the same argument 30 years ago, and the argument I had when I had I have a Mac Plus that my father bought from the US, and that's why I was using Nashoba FileMaker, the first version of FileMaker. And I had the same argument with people say, oh, yeah, well, we don't need mouse and stuff like that because we are keyboard people. We are keyboard people, okay? So that's pretty much the UI they had back in the day, right? So we are exactly the same problem here. We have the same argument. That means that the people had in the 80s. They were saying, oh, we are not desktop, we are not mouse and mouse people. We are keyboard people. So we're not. And here today we have the same argument. We are mouse people. We are not touch people.
Right. I agree.
So
I agree. So
it's the same level of argument, let's say. But it's not. It shouldn't be an argument. It should be like, okay, let's see how it works, and you can decide by yourself if you want to go there, if you don't want. But something before we go, something is sure. Each time I showed my production for iPhone and iPad, every single customer of mine said, I want that. I want it. I want it. I want it. Oh my gosh, I want it. That's the answer I had. Why? Because it looks exactly like an iPhone application or an iPad application. And that gets the people excited because, oh my gosh, I have my own app now, right? So this is something you need to keep in mind. It's a good selling point to have something that looks exactly like it should look on the device. Yep, that's it.
That's it. Cool. All right, cool. Well, we're going to pick it up tomorrow. So everyone, appreciate it. Take your notes, keep your notes, have your questions, bring them tomorrow. If you want to contact us after hours, on different hours, what you need to do is send an email to support RC Consulting. Some of you like to post questions to Discord, then you want to know why we're not playing 24/7 support on Discord. So Discord's kind of a persistent conversation, very useful, but if you have a question, you want my attention or Nick's attention, send an email to support@rcconsulting.com. And that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.